To today's Zoom. David Rutz here with David Allen Capital. Excited to have all of you with us today. Got some real exciting things going on with payment processing, and I want to give you some updates. And I also want to go through a couple slides with you. We're now live on YouTube, so I can begin. First of all, we have been, payment processing has been something we've been involved with for several years now, right? But we are getting a little bit more, let's just say, focused. Let me get my backdrop here so that I'm in the white. Okay, we're getting a little more focused on adding that to our residual stream as a user experience with our funding. We've funded thousands of clients. I know when we send out emails to our for renewals, it's 46,000 businesses, and we've got over 300,000 who've applied when you count the gig workers and all that. So it's a lot of customers, and I don't know what the precise number is. And that doesn't count ERCs, which we had, I don't know, maybe, or PPP loans, which was, I don't even know. It was probably near 100,000 of those. I don't recall. So, but the good news is we've got a huge database of people who've applied, right? And one of the things we're working with our systems trainings that we've gone through with Howard Partridge, and we've talked about this at length and nauseum, frankly. How important it is to give a great user experience for our customer. And payment processing is one of those things that we're going to do a better job with our existing client base. And that starts with doing a better job by taking care of them as a funding customer. Most all of our leads coming in right now are funding leads. We do get some payment processing, we do get healthcare, but I would say for every 100 funding applications, we get one payment processing and one healthcare. I mean, it's like 100 to 1. Maybe it's 50 or 60 to 1, but it feels like it's 100 to 1. And so that is our primary product right now. Will it always be? We don't know. I mean, you guys are the agents. You're the ones talking to clients, right? But the good news is, as we take better care of our clients on the funding side and build that relationship with them internally, we're hoping you're doing that as well. Then we can start having discussions about their profitability on their payment processing, or we can start to talk to them about their healthcare. And because we've got several 100,000 of gig worker applications, that tells us those are all people who could be using our health share, right? And those are all people who could be using a little Square reader. Well, we've been working through trying to find a way to have our payment processing be profitable at the startup level. And it's not profitable for most carriers, frankly. You got people like Square and Stripe out there where you're really not getting your own processing account. You're using theirs. And so because of that, they can give you lower pricing, but you don't get a statement of your own. You can't call yourself a merchant processor. You're using them. It's almost like if I said, hey, all of you can use my DAC merchant ID number to start doing payment processing with others, and I'm going to charge you a little bit more than the bank's charging me, and get approval from my processor to do that. And then I start DAC startup processing for everybody, and everybody, that's all Square did. Is they got an agreement with a provider to say, hey, if we sign up all these people who pay us a monthly fee and run all their payment processing through us, we'll give them all a sub agent, basically a sub ID, but we're responsible for all of them. And so they're really, anyone on Square does not have their own merchant processor, and they're really not in control of it. Square is. So, but it's great for startups and lower costs. So now a carrier can make a profit because there's millions of businesses using it. So the underlying bank is okay with it because Square is ultimately responsible. And because there's millions of transactions coming through there, they're all really customers of Square, which makes them good for the bank. Well, you alone go to get your own merchant processing. If you have a local farmer's market and you do 5 transactions a weekend and you do 20 transactions a month, you go try to get an account. Visa charges minimum fees to the bank. So you got transaction costs, you got minimum cost per month, you've got compliance costs, you got federal regulatory costs, you've got all these taxes, just like a phone bill. Remember getting a phone bill, the old phone bills you'd have back before mobile became the standard. You'd have all these fees just to have a phone. And the 911 fee, the 555 information fee, the weather fee, the this fee, the intrastate fee, the interstate fee, the compliance fee, the PCB, all these fees, right? Well, that's how payment processing is. Visa charges a bunch of fees just to have an account. So if you're only going to do let's just say $1,000 in transactions a month, and they're only charging 3%, that's only $30. They're probably spending about 45 just to have your account in cost. That's why anytime you get a startup business who's not going to do more than 1,000, you got to put some fees on it just to cover the hard cost of having an account. Okay. So with that known, it's very difficult to compete with Square, who doesn't, they don't have, they charge you minimum fees, they charge you stuff as the customer, but they don't have to pay it to Visa for all those millions of people. They don't have to pay that. They're one carrier, they're one account called Square, and they've only got one compliance cost and one PCI, but they'll charge the customer a bunch of minimum fees and transaction fees, but Visa's not charging them for those. They're charging Square the corporate. So just like DAC has a compliance cost and a such and such cost and on our merchant processing, if we gave you all accounts, we wouldn't have to pay that fee for all of you. We pay it one time. It's one cost. It's like rent. It's like renting your processor. So it's very hard to compete with them. But because we've gotten hundreds of thousands of applications, we've said if we could find a way for the gig funding, that is, if we could find a way to support those people with healthcare, we've got it with ClearShare. If we could find a way to support them with payment processing and beat Square, could we find a Square buster? Well, we're working on something that might be a Square buster. We're pretty excited about it. I'm supposed to see the details today, so keep that in the back of your mind as we're hoping to have that one day. Not because we want to lead with that market, but because although we now can go back to those hundreds of thousands of clients that have applied and start talking to them about their payment processing needs and see if we can't have a way to beat Square and move them over. And our carrier is willing to take some loss on some deals for the bulk of all of them. So we'll see what happens with that. Again, we're paid on profit. So some deals there's no profit on. You sign someone up at $500, maybe they're $500 a month in processing, maybe there'd be no income in it until they get larger. It's, if they're not making income, we don't make an income, we can't share an income with you. So sometimes it's not worth doing, right? And you can see why carriers don't get in that space. They don't make any money. Why support the customer? Those customers seem to have more questions than, just like our gig worker funding has more questions than the people who get 200 grand. So we're moving in that direction. We've got a contract, we're working on it, but just know that we're trying to do a better job with our internal outreach, and we're asking you to do a better job. So that's what we want to talk about today for our DAC agents is two things. Number one, I want to show you some screenshots, but number two, I wanted to show you some I want to discuss with you the importance of you delivering a remarkable, amazing experience to your client. Are you reaching out to your clients and talking to them? Are you holding their hand through the application process? Are you holding their hand through the payment processing process? Are you holding their hand after funding? Are you reaching out? If you got someone $200,000 in funding or $100,000 or $20,000 in funding last week, have you reached out to see how it's going, how their implementation of cash is going? If there's anything you can help with, if there's any needs, if there's anything whatsoever, if there's any feedback they have, if you asked them to go to Trustpilot and give you a 5-star review, are you doing any of the follow-up professional stuff that we teach? Because if you are, then you could eventually start to talk about their profit of payment processing and dual pricing and how that standard is not only becoming a standard, it's already a standard in the petro industry, and it's becoming a standard in the restaurant industry. And you're seeing it more and more. I bet if you go out, 10 to 15% of the businesses in big cities are already doing it. Maybe even 25% in the big cities. They're already, you travel and go to Miami. Most of them are doing it, or many are. Detroit, many are. Now, my local hometown, maybe only a couple are, but they'll move. And so it's switching quick. And it reminds me when I used to have when I had a company called TFN, the Free Network, and we were a long distance carrier, and we moved into paging, two-way paging. and the president of Arch Paging joined our company to lead our paging division because we had so many customers. It was such a good thing. And we had two-way paging was going to be the future. Well, they put it on a mobile phone, and you didn't need the two-way pager anymore. The flip, the little pager was the coolest thing. But I remember we were doing dial-up internet, and we were like, this is awesome. This is awesome. And high-speed internet came along, DSL. And then coax cable, Comcast got into it. As soon as Comcast got into internet, our dial-up was pointless. It was useless. It was useless. Just like fax machines became useless when email came out. Well, guess what? It's going to switch like this. And we went from putting on thousands of dial-up internet customers a month down to near zero because everyone was going to Comcast cable. We were losing customers faster than we were putting on because the technology changed, right? Technology's changed, guys. Dual pricing is the standard. You've got an opportunity right now to make a windfall of cash. You sign those customers up, you get paid for life on them. They're not going to switch off of this. Once they're in, they're in. It's like once they moved over, they can't save anymore. There'd be no reason for them to leave you, but there's also no reason to join you once they've joined. You do not get to wait. It's like open enrollment for healthcare is like right now is the time to talk to people about their healthcare right now before the end of the year. And guess what? Right now is the time to be talking to people about payment processing because they're going to move. And once they move, it's locked. It's like they'll never switch off of it. So I want to show you a couple screenshots. But I would, if I were you, I'd be reaching out to every client who's ever applied with you right now. I'd be reaching out and talking to them about their profit level, reaching out and offering them support with their profit level and asking if they've considered yet. Just like Ellen Wynn says, what are you doing for healthcare? What are you doing for your fees on payment processing? Have you decided yet to pass it on to the customer? Simple question. Don't think they're going to be afraid of that. Many business owners are like, I've been thinking about it. I'm tired of those fees. We can do it in a compliant way. The average lack of compliance fee is $5,000. And then there's per occasions and things. So they don't want to be making the mistake of doing it wrong, doing a surcharge when they shouldn't be. You can't surcharge customers. If it's a debit card, you can. If you're in certain states, you can't. There's a certain maximum you can put on. It's not compliant enough. You pay a fee, and they got secret shoppers all over the place. So we're doing it compliant. I want to show you a couple of screenshots that I think would be important for you to understand how this could look. All right, so let me get my keynote up here. All right, so let me play this. I just want to show you a couple things on how this will start to look in the industry. This is what it looks like, what dual pricing looks like on a machine. They would click on, so they enter the sale amount, the terminal would display both. That's dual pricing. You see both, right? Pretty simple. Pick which way you're doing it. You pick cash, you give them cash, right? In addition to that, after the payment method's confirmed, the transaction is completed at the terminal. So either the cash register with cash or you run the card through. Pretty simple, right? This is what a receipt will look like. You have a cash payment. You see the one on the left. If they pay with cash, it was going to be $10.40. They get a discount of 40 cents. They only paid $10. If they don't, they're going to pay $10.40 like you see on the right. Okay, so these are examples of what receipts look like. Okay. And now, one thing I want to show you is what's recommended. We believe all compliance is going to move to this. So we're starting to recommend it now. Show both prices. Show both prices. It's already that way at gas stations on the display sign. You don't see that at the pump. They assume you're paying with a credit card at the pump, so they show you the higher price. They don't show both prices, but dual pricing, look at this. Here's an example of a menu with dual pricing, showing both the card price and the cash price. Real simple. Signature burger, $10.92, card price, cash price, $10.50. Real simple, right? So this just shows you a way to do it in a compliant way in each state because the Durbin Act gives us the ability to pass the fees on to the customer. However, there's also changes coming where they want you to display both prices. So we believe this will become the standard in the near future. We dual pricing, you do display both at checkout, but some states are pressing to make sure you display both prices at the menu, right? On your checkout menu at the grocery store there, you got card price and cash price. So these are just examples of how people can display this. And it's very important that you do so. Okay. So here's an example of, different ways that by using dual pricing, interchange fee, 2 to 4% of gross credit card volume, average rate, it's waived with us. Transaction fee per transaction waived. Now, if you go standard pricing, you have all those things on the left. All those red things you have on standard pricing. Every one of them, monthly, per transaction cost. But by going to the 4% added to the cost, dual pricing, it covers all that. It covers, not always, because if someone's only doing $50 a month, it's not going to cover it all. So you can't always say you're not going to have any fees. We say net zero based on a certain amount of processing. Hugh has said if they're doing under 10,000, there's a risk that they're not going to cover it, because what's 10,000 times, I'm sorry, 1,000 times 4% is only $40. That's not going to cover other fees. 2,000, it may cover their fees. So there's a certain dollar amount they need to do in transactions to get all their fees covered. But because you can see there's cost on things. But by going with the dual pricing, you get those things covered, and usually covered. So that is why you want to lead with dual pricing and why we want to talk to people about compliance. So we're going to start everything we're doing. We're going to start telling the client they need to show both prices, because our carriers that we're working with, some of them are involved with the compliance rules and are actually meeting with the people writing the laws, meeting with Visa, and they're basically signaling to us that you're going to have to show both prices in the near future. So if we know that's coming, let's set people up to be compliant now. They don't have to the day they switch, as long as you show both prices, right? Or if you show your credit card price on the screen. So if you're doing cash discount, you got to show the credit price on your menu, and you can discount it. Dual pricing, as long as that transaction checkout, they can see both. But the talk of the town is eventually in the near term, you're going to have to show the credit card price no matter what. So you may as well show both on the menu, like we showed in our picture. All right. So knowing that going forward, let's start setting people up. We want to be known as the dual pricing compliant experts. We want to put hundreds of thousands of customers on this. We think you can too. And why not generate a significant income for yourself? So I want to go to your questions now. If you have any questions at all, that's all I wanted to mention to you thus far. Any questions? Any questions about dual pricing, about presentation of both prices, about equipment, anything? Harlequin's got her hand up, I see.
Hey, David.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing fabulous. How about yourself?
Wonderful, thank you.
Good. My question is on the program that you're trying to get set up for the
Square Killer?
The Square Killer, yeah.
Yeah.
At what point is it better to go with a standard processor versus Square type, or the Square Killer?
Well, like before, without Square Killer, anyone doing over 8,000 or 9,000 is better off with us, standard process.
Okay.
And dual pricing, if they're going to switch to dual pricing, they should move to us anyway. This Square Killer, we're going to be able to, we believe, and I've not seen the details yet, we're being told by our partners that they can beat Square. And so we'll see. Well, until I see it, I can't tell you what dollar amount, but they've said it doesn't matter what level, we're going to be able to beat them because we can beat their pricing. So let's see where that lies up. So it'd be at any dollar amount at that point. But keep in mind, you as an agent get a percentage, just like us. We get a percentage of the profit on the deal. If there's no profit, we make zero.
Right.
Right. So if we sign someone up and the business is willing, if their processor is willing to lose money on one account to sign up 1,000 because on 800 of them they're going to make money, 200 of them they're losing money. We don't earn anything. So it's not like we want to lead with this, but it is something that we want to see if we can move forward, because there's just like on Giggle, we make money every month. It's not what we lead with, but every month there's commissions shared with people. But one funding pays more than all the Giggles we do in a month, on one funding. So it'd be the same thing with payment processing. We're certainly not leading with it, but every account that's doing $1 million a month now started by doing zero. So we know a lot of the accounts, if we can get them now, we'll have some big accounts. I would bet on 10% of the businesses who are startups are going to become, 40, 50,000 a month or more. And so let's get them when they're babies, take care of them when they're new. So that's our business model.
Okay, fabulous. Thank you.
Thank
And
you.
then the other thing, I went to a small business expo yesterday.
Yeah.
And, with that $5.5 billion lawsuit
Yeah.
that's out there, I
Yeah.
actually got to meet some of the people from that law firm. It
Mm-hmm.
was the people who answer the phone calls when people have issues or questions. They
Mm-hmm.
were trying to promote the fact that, hey, this is out there. Um, I just wanted to let people know that if they go to the paymentcardsettlement.com website, at the very bottom of the page, they have links to their social media, and they have both on YouTube and on Pinterest, is what he showed me. They have how-to videos on how to go through the entire process, which is a good thing for us to let our clients know. Um, and they were kind of going over some of the different things. Some of the smaller credit card processing companies have been trying to go and apply for all of their customers on their behalf, thinking that the credit, the payment processor was going to get the money. And
Mm-hmm.
so they're having to um, dispel some myth within the industry. But I
Sure.
just thought I would share that there is, at the on the website, there's videos that we can show customers on
Give to
how to
the
do it.
customer. Yeah.
Yeah. They
Very good.
also have an 800 number and an email address. But I can post this on our Facebook group if that's okay.
Sure. Please
Okay.
do. Yeah, I don't know much about that except that it's, there's a class action lawsuit and there's settlements coming back. And so I don't know which companies to promote, which companies not to promote. Some are charging fees that may be outrageously high compared to others.
Yeah.
And some you can do it yourself. We did it ourselves. So go to the website and figure it out. You can that's all how we're promoting it. We're not getting in the
Right.
profit making of it. So thank you, Harlequin, for sharing that. We've got a handful of other questions. So is that it, Harlequin? Yeah. Okay. Beautiful. Let's go to, I think it's Joy next.
Yeah, hi there. I have
Hi,
a
Joy.
couple questions.
Yeah.
I had a family member apply for a loan a while back and they didn't take it because they were bankable,
Mm-hmm.
but they process, around 700,000 a month.
Mm-hmm.
And I approached them a couple of years ago about payment processing. But my question is, will you guys approach them automatically because they applied?
No,
Okay,
no.
that's what I was wondering. All
Yeah,
right.
no. I wouldn't, when we say we're working on our internal model, we're going to build a relationship with new applications as they come forward. And
Yeah.
from there, that could turn into many different things like
Yes.
payment processing, et cetera. So no,
Yeah.
you as the agent, you want to reach out to them and talk to them about it. Will
That's
we already email people who've been funded with us and mention that payment processing and with your ID, by the way, whoever the agent is of record. So if they ever switch, but we've not had any luck with that. We've only had a
okay.
couple people get us a quote on payment processing. The agents do much better. You guys have the relationship, so
Yes.
you'd want to do it. But
And
if someone's doing 700,000 a month, I don't know what type of business they are, but they really need to get a quote from us. We could save them significantly.
yeah, they do, they work on exotic cars. So,
Yeah.
yep.
Yeah, we could
It's
save them a we could save
yep.
them a bunch of money even with their standard processing. And then if they want to go to cash discount, it would save them about 3% a year. So our
Wow.
3% a year is,
Wow.
23% of 700,000.
Yep.
10% is 70, so 3% is 21,000 a month they're paying in processing fees.
Wow.
Yeah, that's over $1 million. Uh, uh, well, 240,000, $250,000 a year in profit they're giving
Wow.
up to their processor.
right?
Yeah, Joe, if you can get him on the telephone with us, we'd be happy to get him on with one of our experts.
Yes, and what Harlequin mentioned, I actually used that. There's a functional medicine doctor that wanted the payment processing link, and they're going to apply right away. But I told them initially, if you go with us, I will help you know what to do to get, settlement money back. So
Beautiful.
I
Yeah,
think that actually makes people take a look at it. And
absolutely. It's a great door opener. I'm glad you mentioned it. Thank you, Joy. And if we can help with your client, give us a call. All
one more
right.
question.
Oh,
The
okay, go ahead.
the functional medicine doctor wondered if we do virtual, and that's online. And I said, yes. They applied with us a few years ago, and then because became a teledoctor, we couldn't help them, but I know we can now. So,
Yeah, we've got multiple providers now. Back then, we only had one provider, and they
right.
wouldn't do online subscriptions in the telemedicine space. And I know because it took us 9 months to get approved for our pharmacy membership, which got approved 2 weeks before we ended up deciding not to move forward with. But anyway, thank you, Joy.
Thank you. God bless.
God bless you too. Caitlin is up next, and then Jose.
Hi, good morning. I'm just looking for some clarification. When it comes to startups, is there like a minimum amount that we want to be presenting to them if that they're making in revenue that they'll benefit from dual processing, or can they still benefit from the standard if is there an amount they need to work up to?
Yeah, so they benefit from dual pricing either way because they're passing 4% on to the customer who's using the credit card. The question is, does that 4% cover all their fees? So let's say let's say their fees are $30 a month to have payment processing. How much sales do they have to do for 4% to cover that $30? Well, $1,000 would give them $40. So $1,000 in sales would pretty much cover it. But there's also credit card fees on every transaction. So generally you got to do a few $1,000s or more before all your fees are covered. But you're going to save money. So if you go standard processing, you're going to pay that 30 plus a percentage of each sale, call it 3%. So if you do $1,000, you're going to spend $30 in credit card fees and the $30 fixed monthly cost. You're going to spend 60. If you could do a dual pricing, maybe there's $30 monthly fees, but you do $1,000 in sales, maybe 10 of that, $10 comes off that 30, you only have to pay a $20 fee. So they always benefit from dual pricing. Just know that, but it doesn't cover all their expenses until they do a certain amount of sales because there's standard fixed costs, just like rent in a building. I mean, they have to rent payment processing. They have to pay monthly fees just to have a processor. If they only do one transaction, that 4% fee isn't going to cover, $30 a month unless it's a, $10,000 transaction, right? So they always benefit by using dual pricing, but we can't say their fees will be zero because we don't know, how much sales they're doing. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you. Sorry, I couldn't unmute. Yes, that clarifies it.
All
Appreciate
right,
you.
thank you. And by the way, some people go into dual price, everyone benefits by going to dual pricing, and we should have everybody on it. Now, if someone's standard pricing, generally what happens is, let's say Visa is charging 1% for that card, and maybe we charge 1.5. So, their fee's only 1.5 on that card, but maybe on an Amex card, Amex is charging 4%, and we're only charging, we charge 4.25. So we mark it up on standard processing. We take the cost and mark it up a little bit. And then that becomes profit that we make on the deal. And you get a percentage of that. So they all, but they get less money that way. So they're better off to be in standard dual pricing. Jose, last question of the day. What do you got for us, Jose?
Oh,
There you go. I heard you for a minute. If you can unmute yourself.
okay. Okay. Now can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay. How was the cruise?
Oh, that's next week.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, in in uh, uh, in our uh, in our works, it says that we will provide printed material for our clients
Yeah.
at for the door, and I guess
We'll
they're probably
provide them the language. We'll provide them the language. We don't provide them, menus and stuff
okay.
like
I
that. We
got
give
you.
them the language.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
okay. That and okay, great. And I was just that's what I wanted to know. So,
Yep.
uh,
Like
is there a way for me to get that language so I can print out some materials from any clients, future
it varies
clients?
by state. It varies by state. So I'd rather you not print it out because it's different
Right.
compliance words. So when they get started, the onboard team takes them and their staff through an entire training on what they need to know to do dual pricing in a compliant way. And frankly, it's changing. It's changing
Okay.
all the time. So I don't want to put something out that's compliant today, but maybe won't be compliant in January.
Okay. Very
So
good. Thank you.
yeah,
Appreciate you.
yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. But what you can tell them is at the time of sign up, their compliant information will be sent to them, and they got to stay they got to stay plugged in because, like, if there's a change that says you must show both prices, there's a lot of people who signed up, a year ago were told you don't have to show both prices. But if Visa changes the rule, everyone's got to show both prices. They hopefully their agent would go back and say, hey, there's been a change. You need to show both prices, or they're at risk of paying fines and losing their Visa processing account. So we're going to stay compliant with our clients. We're going to keep them up to date on what's going on. And you as an agent want to do that as well. All right, I think that's all the questions. So, Wade, I know you and I have a meeting in a little bit. I'm going to grab something and then I'll be back 12:15. We'll get started with that. God bless you all, everybody. Let's rock and roll. And tomorrow is agent update is going to be a recording. I'll be in the air at that time. So we're doing a recording and posting it. You're going to find it at YouTube, and same with Monday. So tomorrow and Monday's lives will be on YouTube. You can go YouTube. They'll be featured at the time of launch. And we'll let you know what's going on Tuesday and Thursday of next week. It may be the same recordings pre-posted and populated. And then same with next Friday. So all next week, just plan on going to YouTube except Wednesday. But I was going to confirm with Wade that might be pre-recorded as well. So look for them on YouTube if we're not on Zoom, and we'll get you some announcements to let you know what it's going to be. All right. Keep an eye out on Facebook. Keep an eye on your emails. God bless you, everybody. Rock and roll. Have a great, great weekend and finish strong.